Seth Hays was born on April 25th, 1811 in Callaway County, Missouri, a great-grandson of Daniel Boone. By the time he reached his late 30s, he was employed by the Boone and Hamilton Trading Post of Westport, Missouri, to establish a trading post at Council Grove, Kansas. Although Council Grove had been the great rendezvous point on the Santa Fe Trail since the trail was established in 1821, there was no permanent settlement here until Hays arrived. By April 1847, he was open for business in a log cabin that was most likely located east of the present Hays House location. Business was good, and in 1857-58 he constructed a large frame store. This building is a restaurant today known as the Hays House and is located at 112 West Main Street in Council Grove. The original frame store is within the restaurant. Some of the 1857-58 structural elements are still visible inside the restaurant today. Hays brought his enslaved woman with him when he arrived in the area in 1847. After Kansas was admitted to the Union as a free state on January 29, 1861, Sarah Taylor, known as Aunt Sally, stayed on as a servant to him, working in this store and in his household. Hays built two other residences before this brick home in 1867, where he lived until his death. In November 1861, Kitty Parker Robbins was born to James and Caroline Robbins. Caroline died in childbirth, and little Kitty was placed in Aunt Sally's care. Hays legally adopted Kitty in 1867, at the same time he moved into this new home. Hays never married, but he, Kitty, and Aunt Sally were a kind of family unit, possibly an unconventional one for the time. Unfortunately, no artifacts remain from the time Seth lived here, but the furnishings are of the time period. The building itself is the artifact. Guests may have entered the parlor through the front door to a view such as this. Originally, this bedroom was two rooms, which provided sleeping places for Seth and Kitty. Aunt Sally's living quarters were in the basement. The middle room was most likely the dining room for Seth and Kitty. This room was the kitchen. The door to the left is the back exterior door where Aunt Sally entered the house. This photo shows the north side of the room. The door in the left photo is the outside entrance to Aunt Sally's basement living area. She did not have an interior path from her living space to the rest of the house. When she lived here, the floor was dirt, not brick. In 1870, Hays sent 9-year-old Kitty to Kansas City to school. She lived with Seth's friends, the James Hamilton family. When Aunt Sally died in July 1872, Kitty returned to attend the funeral of the only mother she had ever known. Just 7 months later, in February 1873, Seth Hays died. Again, Kitty returned to attend the funeral of her father. She went back to Kansas City after the funeral. The position that both Seth and Aunt Sally held in the community is reflected in their funerals. A large crowd attended Aunt Sally's funeral, and she was buried in the Hays lot at Greenwood Cemetery, which was unusual given the times. When Seth died, he was buried next to Aunt Sally. Kitty Hays finished her schooling in Kansas City in 1878 and returned to Council Grove for about a year before she went to Las Vegas, New Mexico to visit her brother, Augustus Robbins. She met A.J. Houghton on that trip, and she married the successful hardware merchant in 1881. Together they had 3 children, and in 1895 they returned to Kansas to operate a farm Kitty inherited from Seth near Cottonwood Falls at the mouth of Diamond Creek. By 1909 they moved again, this time to Coronado, California, near San Diego. A.J. died in 1921, and Kitty died in 1941. After Seth's death in 1873, the home saw many occupants. An additional room and porch, circa 1890, were added on the south side to make a rectangle from the original L footprint. The Morris County Historical Society acquired the home in 1973 and opened it in 1976. At this time, the Society installed the interior stairway to the basement as seen on the left. The statue on the side lawn depicts Seth reading to Kitty. The artist is John Forsyth. The statue was placed in 2010.